Do you know how many hours it takes on average to plan a wedding? Well, I can tell you that when I started my business, it took me about 200 hours to plan one wedding in Iceland. So who am I? My name is Vigdís, and my company is Lex Wedding, and this is what we do. We help adventurous couples to have an unforgettable and intimate wedding in Iceland with an easy step-by-step planning process. We have planned over 150 weddings in Iceland in the past 6 years. And we have helped people from all over the world to get legally married in Iceland. And it took a long time to figure out how to serve our clients in the very best and most efficient way, so they can enjoy the planning process and get their desired results. So how do we do it? This is our team. Me, my husband, Eva, and Elizabeth.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi! We are all born and raised in Iceland. Elizabeth and Eva are our wedding planners, and my husband, well, he helps me with all the technical stuff, like my website. And me, I take care of daily operations, marketing, wedding planning. Well, I kind of do everything. We definitely love what we do, and we also work remotely, so we can be flexible for our clients. These are some of our happy couples that we have helped. Kelly and John. They were actually one of our first couples. They eloped in the wintertime and definitely had an adventurous wedding. Are and Miranda, who came all the way from Australia with her friends and family to get married inside a glacier in Iceland. What a way to get married. Mike and Allison, who eloped from Canada in the fall and wanted to keep it simple and get stunning photos on the south coast of Iceland. Rob and Lauren, who invited over 100 guests from the US and Europe to celebrate their wedding in one of our national parks in Iceland. Actually, their ceremony location is also one of the filming locations in Game of Thrones, if you know that TV show. And here we have Marilee and Ben, who fell for the Snæfellsnes Peninsula and traveled with their friends and family to get married in the middle of a lava field. Or almost in the middle of nowhere. At least we can say it was very private and the view over the glacier was stunning for sure. But what is it that we actually do? Well, we got two different types of services. First one is the Parcel planning. It gives you full access to our wedding planning program online. It gives you access to our awesome vendors, including officiants, photographers, stylists and other vendors you might need for your wedding. It also gives you access to our community where you can ask questions and get help, and live Q&A calls once a week. We also take care of all your paperwork so you can enjoy the process of getting legally married in Iceland. And the second one is the full wedding planning. It gives you everything that the Parcel planning gives you, plus everything below. So 3 months prior to your wedding, you will get an experienced Icelandic wedding planner from us who will go over all your bookings and details for your wedding, get in touch with all your vendors and communicate with them, set up your wedding day plan, provide unlimited service including email communications and virtual meetings with you. And finally, the wedding planner will also be with you on your wedding day to make sure everything runs smoothly. So here's one of our couples that went with the Parcel planning. They got married on the south coast and had a blast through their whole trip. And here's a couple that hired us for the full wedding planning. Like they said, a fairy tale. We took a helicopter from Reykjavik and landed on top of this mountain close to the erupting volcano, so we could have this magnificent view over it while they had the ceremony conducted. Simply amazing. So, who am I outside of my company? Well, this is me and my husband Ole on our wedding day. We got married on the east coast of Iceland in a fjord called Mjóifjörður. Absolutely my favorite place on earth. And these magnificent waterfalls are just in the backyard where my mother-in-law grew up. Unbelievable scenery. Well, so when I'm not working, I spend time with my family. And this is my husband and on our honeymoon. He loves the black slopes. And he also loves airplanes. And when he's not working in Lux Wedding with me, he's a pilot. And yes, this is our youngest son. We have 3 boys. 1, 2, 3. And for fun, we like skiing and traveling. I don't know if you have kids, but it can be very hard to find a picture of the whole family where everyone is looking at the camera. At least I couldn't find one. We also love playing golf. And my oldest boy is very talented, so we spend a lot of time going to tournaments with him. Anyway, I'll never be so great in golf, but I can tell you what my mastery is. When I started planning weddings in Iceland, I didn't have any experience, but in the past 6 years we have learned so many things, and here are a few of them. The first one is providing outstanding services for a fair price. And this is all about creating more value for our clients. The second one is building a list of vendors that work very well together and let everything run smoothly on the day of. I can never explain how important this is for us. We would be nothing without our team of wedding vendors who take care of delivering the amazing service that they do. And by having the same people working together again and again makes the service so seamless and consistent. And the third one is making the planning process simple and fun. So I think a lot of people get overwhelmed when they start planning their wedding. Things start to get overly complicated when people start researching online what they should and should not have on the wedding day. And it's so important to keep in mind that it should be fun and along the way. And therefore, we want to make sure that the planning process is as simple as possible. So how do we go from overwhelming to fun? So, here's the problem. First of all, it's hard to know where to begin. And it's very understandable because when I started planning weddings in Iceland, it was actually more complicated than I thought. So I can't imagine how it is for couples who are not located in Iceland and don't speak Icelandic. Spend endless time on the internet searching for things like: what are the best photographers and hair and makeup stylists? Can I get legally married in Iceland? And which are the required documents? Can I get married in a church? Is it okay to get married anywhere outside in Iceland? Do we need permission from landowners? Is it possible to have a Catholic wedding? What about a non-religious wedding? And what does a wedding cost in Iceland? Trying to answer all these questions becomes stressful and you fall out of love with it. So, here's the solution. Ask yourself, what kind of wedding do you truly want? We start the process by finding out together with our couples what they truly want for the wedding. We gather information like what vendors you need, what budget you have, how many guests there will be, and which things are most important to you. So start thinking about, are you religious or maybe not? Have you been to Iceland before or maybe you have not? What season are you thinking about, winter or summer? Do you already have a location in mind? Or maybe you have no idea where to get married. Finding the right ceremony venue. So, here's the problem. You might already be set on if you want to get married indoors or outdoors. A lot of people that come to Iceland really want to get married outdoors, but they are not quite sure how they should plan an outdoor wedding. We all know that the weather in Iceland is very unpredictable and there is no guarantee that you will get a great weather in the summertime. And you might also have some guests at your wedding and you want to make sure that location is comfortable for them. You might also have some elderly people that cannot walk for a long time or in a difficult landscape. And you have no idea if you need a permission or not. So if you're set on getting married outdoors, you also have to think about if the location is a public location or if it's on a private property. And people often get confused about where they need permission in particular places. And finally, the tourist crowds. Well, you might see a location online that looks like this. But when you actually go there, it actually looks like this. So, here's the solution. So, when you're deciding on if you want to get married outdoors or indoors, you need to take into consideration the season. This means if you want to get married outdoors in the wintertime, you definitely need to have a plan B and maybe a plan C as well. Although we also recommend that our couples have a plan B all year round, since it makes the planning less stressful. You also need to make sure the location you want will actually be accessible on your date, and it might also be important for you to have a local guide and transportation because of the unpredictable weather we have. If you want to get married inside in Iceland, it doesn't mean that you need to get married inside a hotel, unless you want that, of course. But Iceland has so many caves that we love having weddings in, and sometimes we use them as a plan B. But they can actually be very nice for ceremonies, especially if you want to be sure you get shelter from the weather. And find a location that fits your guests' needs. And you have to make sure that the location will fit with your guest needs, and you can provide transportation all the way up to the location if needed. Find less crowded places that are just as beautiful as the touristy ones. There are so many locations in Iceland that are so beautiful. We have wonderful national parks with a lot of great locations for weddings. And then we also have locations that are located on private properties. And make sure you have a permission from landowner if you're on a private property. And in most cases, you do need permission, whether your location is within a national park or on a private property. The last thing we want for somebody is to tell you that you can't get married there on your wedding day. This is Joseph and Dara. They got married inside a lava cave where they had a blast during the ceremony with their close family and friends. And this is Sabrina and Dennis. They chose to elope in Iceland and got married on a beautiful summer day in the National Park Þingvellir. And here we have Megan and Dan, who got married by this cute little waterfall with their family and friends. And after the wedding planner and guide prepared Icelandic hot dogs for everyone. It was such a wonderful day. Afraid of breaking the bank. So here's the problem. Afraid you can't afford it or it will get too expensive. So often people have been saving for a while for their big day, and then when you start looking into the cost for the wedding, you're afraid it will get too expensive. You want to create a once-in-a-lifetime experience without spending all your money. So most of the time couples get confused about all the things that are valuable. And the internet tells you that you will need all these things which might not be necessary for your wedding. You want your budget to cover your whole trip to Iceland, not just the wedding day itself. And I think this is very important because most couples want to enjoy their trip in Iceland. This might also be your honeymoon, so maybe you want to do some activities and travel around the island. And finally, it's simply missing what matters. And here's the solution. Focus on the things that really matter to you. So let's look at the goal here. You want to get married in Iceland and live a happy life together and enjoy your wedding day. And like I said, couples think they need all these things, but what is it that actually matters? Maybe you have been thinking about this day since you were a kid, and maybe you still want that wedding, or maybe something totally different. So what kind of wedding do you want? Think about what will you remember in the future. Ask yourself, what is it that you will remember from this day 10 years from now? And we believe couples should have their wedding just like they want it to be. Whether it's a fancy reception or to have an Icelandic hot dog after your wedding. There is nothing right or wrong because we want you to experience the wedding you want. And be realistic about prices in Iceland. So some things like accommodation and travel expenses can be quite expensive in Iceland, especially in the high season. But things for the wedding itself don't have to be that expensive. So when you're setting up your budget plan and seeing how much you feel comfortable with spending on your wedding, think about your whole stay in Iceland. Set up a budget plan and stick to it. And to get an idea of the whole budget, it's good to split it into a few categories. Like number 1, the wedding day itself, which can include the wedding planning, ceremony location and officiant, wedding vendors like photographer, flowers, hair and makeup, wedding dinner, transportation for the wedding day and other things you might need. Number 2, things you might bring from home like wedding rings and wedding attire. Number 3, accommodation in Iceland and flight tickets. And number 4, other things you want to include in your trip to Iceland like transportation and activities. And try not to stretch the budget too much. It's better to plan for less and then add in some things later if you feel comfortable with it. And here's a couple that didn't break the bank. They invited their friends to their wedding in Iceland, had a small ceremony close to the capital and hired a photographer for a half day to capture the moment. They came in the low season to keep the whole trip less expensive and simply enjoy the time with their friends. It was a simple wedding, but it was exactly how they wanted to celebrate it. Getting legally married in Iceland. So here's the problem. You might be wondering if you can get legally married in Iceland. Your country does not provide all the necessary information, and it can be hard to find out which documents are needed to make sure your wedding is legal, since countries have different documents that they can provide. Therefore, some countries might not have exactly what the Icelandic authorities need. Sometimes couples also get misleading information on what is needed, which can be quite frustrating. The communication with the offices in Iceland take a lot of time and energy. Some couples choose to file their paperwork in Iceland themselves, and honestly this takes a lot of time and energy from those couples. This also means that when you come to Iceland, you need to go to different places, wait in lines, and hope it will be okay. And it's not very fun to spend your honeymoon trying to figure this out and wait in lines and hope you will be able to finalize everything like it should be. So here's the solution. You can get legally married in Iceland as long as you provide the documents needed. And we have helped over 100 couples to get legally married in Iceland and have not yet run into any problems with this, no matter where our couples have been from. Iceland also allows same-sex couples to get legally married in Iceland. And you don't need to have witnesses with you in Iceland to get legally married. So many people that want to elope ask this question, and therefore it's great news for them that they don't need to include a foreign person to be a witness at their elopement. And finally, have a lawyer take care of your paperwork so you can do something fun instead. This will simply take away the stress about your paperwork. So go on a whale watching or enjoy a nice meal instead of spending your own time doing this. And we have helped so many couples to get legally married in Iceland. And the last thing is that you want to make this exciting and fun. So here's the problem. Planning a wedding for the first time. And when you do something for the first time, it's very normal that you are not quite sure how to do it. Or maybe you're not doing this for the first time, but you really want to make it right this time and create the wedding you truly want. And when doing something that you're not quite sure how to do, you will be making a lot of mistakes. And in the end, you will be paying more and it will take much more time than you thought originally. And the solution is, make it clear what you want. So find out what you as a couple truly want for your big day and discuss it with the people in your lives that you want to be a part of this journey. Choose a wedding planner that listens to your wants and needs, and find a planner that you believe will be the right fit for you and someone who has local expertise in this field in Iceland. Spend less time and energy on the planning and do something fun instead. Make less mistakes. Do it faster. So with a wedding planner, you can make this happen with a very short time if needed. So, there are two options. do it alone, and it will be slower, more stressful. You will make more mistakes. It will be more expensive, and it's gonna be overwhelming. Or do it together. It's gonna be faster, less stressful. You will make less mistakes. It will be significantly cheaper, and it will be a whole lot more fun. So what do you get when you work with us? So in week 1, we will be mapping out your planning and helping you pick the date. In week 2, we will be helping you building up your team for your wedding day. This means finding a photographer, florist, hair and makeup, along with any other vendor you might need for your wedding. In week 3, we will be booking your officiant and finding out what type of ceremony you would like to have, and also find the right location for you. We will make sure you have a plan B and a permission from a landowner if needed. In week 4, we will be helping you plan your itinerary and recommend accommodations and activities for you and your guests. Week 5 is all about putting everything together and setting up a plan for your wedding day. In week 6, we will give you information about how to be safe in Iceland and a lot of other important information before you start packing. So, if this sounds like you, and if you want to get married in Iceland with an amazing results with me and my team, you have the option to book a 15-minute call. It's a free consultation call with one of our wedding planners. And on the call, you will be able to find out what you need and want for your wedding. And we can see if we can work together.
We look forward to speaking with you, so please book a call and let's talk.
And who is this for? Well, it's for couples that want their wedding planning to be a simple process, couples that are looking for a unique destination, couples who choose an adventure over a perfect weather, and couples that want to have fun on the wedding day. So, if this sounds like you, and if you want to get married in Iceland with an amazing results with me and my team, click the button below and schedule a call with us. This way we can figure out together what it is that you want for your wedding and how we can make it happen. One of our wedding planners will take the call with you within the next few days and find out with you if we are a good fit for each other. If we are not the right fit, we will be totally honest about it. But if we are, I know we will create an amazing journey together. So, click the button below and choose a time that fits your schedule and begin your journey of planning your wedding in Iceland. Let's do this together.